Hey there, Pro Church Media community, this is Jason. In this tutorial, I'm going to be looking at how to remix or retime your audio to fit a certain length. Let's say you have an interview that you need music as a background for, or maybe you're making a 5-minute countdown that you need 5 minutes worth of music for, but you only have a track that's 3.5 minutes long. Basically, anytime you have a track that's one length and you need it to be another, that's what this tutorial is for. I'm going to be using a couple tracks from Artlist. If you don't know what Artlist is, it's a great stock music subscription service, and you can check it out. It has a lot of great modern music, and I think you're going to love it. If you go to prochurchmedia.com/design resources, you'll find a bunch of other services. Soundstripe is also another really great one, so be sure to check all of these out. At Artlist, I'm going to be getting a couple tracks from Caleb Etheridge. One is Cosmos, which is about 2.5 minutes long, which might be a little more of a challenge, and Skyline, which is almost 4 minutes long, which might be a little bit easier. Okay, so let's dive into it. If you have Adobe Creative Cloud, then you have access to Adobe Audition, which will let us do all these remixing tasks with a feature called Remix, which is not very well known, but it's really powerful if you want to do things like this where the timing isn't critical and you just need your track to be a certain amount of time. So I'm going to make a new multi-track sequence, just call it test, and then I'm going to put my Skyline track in there. And then with the track selected, I'm going to come down to my properties panel and hit enable remix. It's going to analyze it, looking for beats, melodic phrases, all the things you would be looking for yourself if you were going to do this by hand. But I say, let's let the robots do it. Okay, it's done analyzing. So you can either set a target duration manually by clicking here, or you can just grab the squiggly line at the end and just drag it to where you want to go. Let's go about 520 just to give it room to breathe. All right, and we'll zoom out a bit here. So you can see it already made an edit here. This kind of break line right here is basically where it's decided to try to splice this and then remix it together to work. Whenever it does this, I always like to listen to the seams just to make sure that they're as seamless as possible. So let's listen to this and see what it sounds like. So it's not bad. It kept the beat and everything, but I don't really like that dropout. It's kind of more dramatic than I want it to be. Fortunately, we have a few things we can tweak to try to, maybe find another splicing point. So the first thing is this edit length, which is basically telling it how many edits to make. The longer the edits, the fewer it's going to try to make. And if you put it like all the way down to short or 0 or whatever, it's going to make a bunch of them, which I don't really want. I'm going to try maybe about 90, see what that does. So let's see if it did anything differently. It still got that dropout, so we needed to tweak it some more. So let's try this features. So there's either timbre or harmonic, which focuses on different characteristics of the track. You kind of just have to play around with it to see what you get. Let's try going all the way down to timbre, see what happens. It didn't look like it did much. Let's just see if it did anything. That's actually not bad, since it's kind of right on that beat. Yeah, I think that actually works really well. Sounds really natural. It's right on the beat. So just like that, we're done with this track, and I just want to make sure the track goes all the way out to the end. That'll work. That gives me my 5 minutes, and so I turned a 3.5 minute track into a 5-minute track. Let's throw something a little harder at it. Let's do this Cosmos one, which is 2.5 minutes long, which is a bit more of a challenge. So I'm going to select this, hit remix. So one thing to keep in mind, the shorter your track is, the less content there is to work with. And so the more, obviously it's going to have to repeat things because it's not just going to make music for you, although that would be awesome. So I'm just going to drag this out to about 520 or so, just like I did the last time. And you can see it's basically just kind of repeating that phrase over and over. Let's just see what the seams sound like. That sounds okay. Let's see what this one sounds like. The seams sound okay. I kind of want this end section to not be touched just because it's kind of the focal point of the song, or the climax of it. So let's maybe put the edit length back down to 90. And it's changed up the way that it's editing this together. You might not be able to see these little numbers up here, but it's basically telling you where it's splicing it and from where. And that might be okay. Let's try messing with the features just a little bit to see if we get anything different. That's messing up the end there. So maybe we'll go the other way just to see what happens. That actually might work pretty well. So let's just listen to some of these seams. That works. That next one's the same. Let's try this one. That one might have been the same too. This one's different. Okay, that works. And so we have another 5-minute track. It's actually more like 5:10. I might want to pull it back in a little bit. And it looks like it's doing okay. Let's pull it back just a little bit more. All right, and so it's kind of gonna be stuck with the edits it has right now at about 5:10 or so, which brings us to kind of like a couple of the last features. There's also this minimum loop, which is gonna change things up, and you can see that actually might be better to not have it repeat as much, because the places it's splicing it are different. So you can play around with that. There's also this stretch to exact duration, which let's just click this and see what happens. And I'm gonna put this right at I'll do 5 minutes exactly. And you can see the timing is like 98%, which means it sped it up just a little bit so it could get it in there, and it also had to change things around. So then you might have to play around with different things again. You can see it's just repeating the same thing over and over. So those are just a few ways you can remix things to a certain length. And you can see it's really easy to do. It didn't take really any effort at all. Just pushing a few buttons, moving a few sliders, and let the robots do all the work. So I hope this is helpful to you. I use this feature all the time, and it works almost with every track I've ever thrown at it. So I highly recommend you check out the remix feature of Adobe Audition. Go remix some tracks, and I will talk to you later.